Human helps the alien girl calm her racing heart, and the alien girl says one heartbeat belongs to him. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, back to the main story. It was a quiet evening on the outskirts of the city. Jake Mitchell had just finished a long day working at the tech lab and was walking home, lost in his thoughts. He wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary, but life had a funny way of throwing surprises at him. As he walked past a small park, something unusual caught his attention. A figure standing by the fountain, almost glowing under the streetlights. At first, he thought it was just a person in a costume or perhaps someone filming a movie, but as he drew closer, he realized this was no ordinary person. The figure was a girl, but not like any girl he had ever seen. She had silvery white hair that cascaded down to her shoulders, her skin a soft shade of violet, almost glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes shimmered with an otherworldly brightness, like two stars lost in the vastness of space. Jake was taken aback, but something in him told him not to run, not to be afraid. She looked vulnerable. Her chest was rising and falling rapidly, her hands clutching her chest as if she were struggling to breathe. Her whole body was trembling, and Jake could see the fear in her eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft and cautious. She looked at him, her eyes widening in surprise, as if she hadn't expected anyone to notice her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, with a shaky voice, she said, "My heart, it's racing. I don't know why, it's out of control." Jake's heart went out to her. She was clearly in distress, and he couldn't just walk away. Without thinking, he stepped closer. "It's okay," he said, trying to sound reassuring. "I can help. Let me try something." She hesitated but nodded, her eyes still full of fear and confusion. Jake took a deep breath and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Focus on my voice," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Breathe in slowly and out. In and out." For a moment, nothing changed. But then, slowly, he noticed a subtle shift in her breathing. Her trembling started to ease, and the frantic pace of her heart seemed to slow. He guided her through the breathing exercises, each one helping her calm down just a little more. The space between them felt peaceful, like an unspoken bond had begun to form. After several minutes, her breathing had steadied, and she looked at him, her eyes still wide but now filled with a sense of relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Jake smiled softly. "Glad I could help." She took a deep breath, her body relaxing more. Then, with a sudden intensity, she looked up at him and said, "One heartbeat, it belongs to you." Jake blinked, unsure if he had heard her correctly, but the sincerity in her voice was undeniable. He wasn't sure what she meant, but for some reason, he felt a strange connection between them, as if their hearts had synced in that brief moment. The air between them seemed to hum with something neither of them could explain, but Jake couldn't deny the feeling that this encounter was no accident. There was something important here, something more than just a chance meeting. But before he could speak, she turned her gaze back toward the horizon, as if something was pulling her away. "I have to go now," she said softly. "But, thank you, Jake. I won't forget this." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Jake standing there, his mind racing with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? And what did she mean by "one heartbeat belongs to you"? For now, all he could do was watch as she disappeared into the night, her figure fading like a dream. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. The next morning, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of that strange encounter. He had gone to bed with his mind racing, his thoughts constantly returning to the girl, Zyra. Who was she? What did she mean by those words? "One heartbeat belongs to you." Was it just a strange thing to say in the heat of the moment, or was there something more to it? He tried to focus on his work at the tech lab, but his mind kept drifting. Every time he looked up, he half expected to see her standing there, her violet eyes locked onto his, her presence both calming and mysterious. By lunchtime, Jake had decided that he couldn't just let it go. He had to find out who she was, what she was, and what that strange connection meant. He knew it wouldn't be easy. After all, she had disappeared without a trace, leaving him with nothing but questions and a strange, lingering feeling. But Jake wasn't the type to let things go, especially not something that felt so important. He had to find her. He returned to the park where he had met Zyra, hoping that something, anything, would give him a clue. The fountain was still there, the same as it had been the night before, but there was no sign of her. Jake sat down on the same bench, his eyes scanning the area, looking for any sign of movement, any flicker of that otherworldly light he had seen around her. He waited for what felt like hours, but there was nothing. The park was quiet, peaceful even. He was about to give up when he heard a soft voice behind him. Jake! He turned quickly, and there she was. Zyra. She stood a few feet away, looking at him with those bright, shimmering eyes. Her silver hair glowed under the afternoon sun, and for a moment, Jake felt like he had been transported back to that strange night. You found me, she said, her voice soft but filled with something Jake couldn't quite place. I didn't think you would. He stood up, a mixture of relief and confusion flooding him. I had to find you. I couldn't stop thinking about you. Zyra smiled, and for a moment, Jake could have sworn he saw something akin to sadness in her eyes. I didn't want to be found, she said quietly, but something about you feels different. Something in your heart. Jake's heart skipped a beat at her words. What do you mean? She stepped closer, her presence almost magnetic. Your heartbeat. It's steady, strong. It feels like, she hesitated, as if trying to find the right words. It feels like you can help me, like you understand. Jake was stunned. But I don't know anything about you. I don't even know who you are. Zyra looked down, almost as if she was gathering her thoughts. My name is Zyra. I'm from a place far beyond your world. I came here to learn, to understand. But the emotions here, they're overwhelming. I've never felt anything like this before. Jake's mind was racing. So, what you felt last night, that wasn't just something weird? You actually felt something. Zyra nodded. Yes. I'm not used to feeling like this. Where I come from, we don't experience emotions the way you do. We have control over them. But when I met you, when you helped me, it was like my heart. It wanted to break free. Jake felt a surge of emotion. So that's why your heart was racing last night. Because of me, she nodded again, her eyes locked onto his. Yes, your presence, your kindness, it's something I've never encountered before. It's like a warmth I can't explain. And for some reason, my heart, it feels like it belongs to you. Jake's pulse quickened as he processed her words. He didn't know what to make of it, but he couldn't deny the strange pull he felt toward her. It was like they were connected in some way, something deep and unspoken. I don't understand, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. But I want to understand. Zyra smiled faintly, her eyes softening. Maybe you already do. Maybe that's why I'm here. The air between them seemed to hum with a quiet intensity, a shared understanding that neither of them could fully grasp. But in that moment, Jake knew one thing for certain. His life was about to change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. I could see the hesitation in Zyra's eyes, the way she seemed to be holding something back, like there was more she wanted to say, but wasn't ready to yet. It was a look Jake had seen many times before, in people who had secrets or fears they couldn't quite voice. But whatever it was clear that Zyra was different from anyone he had ever met. He didn't understand all of it, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't walk away from this. So what now? Jake asked, his voice gentle, but with a hint of urgency. Zyra glanced around the park, her expression distant for a moment. She took a slow breath, as if considering how much of herself she was willing to reveal. I don't know, she admitted quietly. I've never been this vulnerable before. Where I come from, we don't show our feelings, we control them. But here, it's different. I feel things I can't explain. Jake nodded, trying to make sense of it all. It sounds like you're saying that the way I help you, it's somehow affecting you? Zyra met his gaze, her violet eyes gleaming. Yes, your kindness, your presence, it's like it's breaking through the walls I've built. It makes me feel human, in a way. But it also scares me. Jake could understand that. It had been one thing to feel connected to someone emotionally, but for Zyra, whose entire existence seemed to be built on emotional control, this was clearly overwhelming. You don't have to be afraid, Jake said softly, stepping a little closer to her. Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out together. You don't have to hide from your feelings with me. Zyra blinked, the slightest flicker of surprise in her eyes. But what if? What if this connection is too much? She asked, her voice trembling. What if I lose control? Jake hesitated, thinking carefully. Maybe it's not about control. Maybe it's about trust. You don't have to control everything. Sometimes, it's okay to let yourself feel, to let someone else help you. You've already helped me, just by being here. It's my turn to return the favor. For a moment, Zyra was quiet, her face softening as she looked at him. The intensity of their conversation seemed to shift, as if something deeper was unfolding between them. I've never met anyone like you, she whispered, almost as if to herself. Someone who makes me want to feel, and not be afraid of it. Jake smiled gently, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through him. I'm just a guy who likes to help people, he said with a shrug. But with you, it feels different. Like maybe we're both learning something new. Zyra nodded slowly, and for the first time since they had met, she seemed to truly relax. Maybe we are, she agreed. Maybe we're both learning how to be something more. There was a long pause, and Jake felt the weight of her words. He didn't know what this was, what it meant to be involved with someone like Zyra, someone so different from him, yet somehow so familiar. But in that moment, it didn't matter. He felt a deep connection to her, one that went beyond logic or reason. It was something that defied explanation. I don't want to lose this, Jake said quietly, looking into her eyes. I don't want to lose you. Zyra smiled softly, and for the first time, there was a sense of peace in her expression. You won't lose me, she replied. Not unless you let go. Jake reached out, his hand brushing against hers, and he felt a shock of warmth spread through him. In that simple touch, he felt the connection between them solidify, as if it was something real, something that couldn't be broken. And in that moment, Jake knew that whatever came next, he was ready to face it. With Zyra by his side, anything seemed possible. The days that followed felt like a blur to Jake. It was like living in two worlds at once. His ordinary life with his friends, work, and routines, and the world that had opened up to him since meeting Zyra. There were moments when he could hardly believe she was real. Yet, every time they met, the connection between them grew stronger. Zyra seemed more at ease, her walls slowly crumbling with each encounter. The fear that had once clouded her eyes was now replaced with a sense of trust in Jake, and trust in herself. One afternoon, Jake invited her to his apartment. It wasn't much, just a small place with a cozy couch and a few shelves of books, but he wanted to share a piece of his world with her. Zyra, however, seemed hesitant. She had never been in a human home before, and the idea of entering such a private space made her nervous. Are you sure about this? She asked, standing at the door as Jake fumbled with the keys. I don't want to intrude. Jake smiled at her, his eyes reassuring. It's not an intrusion. I want you to feel comfortable here. This is just a place, Zyra. It doesn't change anything between us. Slowly, she nodded, stepping inside. The warmth of the room wrapped around her, and for the first time, she felt something close. To peace. She had always felt like an outsider, first in her own world and then here on Earth. But with Jake, there was no judgment, no expectation, just understanding. This is nice, she said quietly, running her fingers along the edge of a bookshelf. So, this is what it feels like to belong somewhere. Jake chuckled softly. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about belonging, he said, sitting on the couch and patting the spot next to him. But I think that's part of what we're learning, right? Maybe we don't have to belong in just one place. Maybe it's more about finding the people who make us feel at home. Zyra hesitated, then joined him on the couch. The room was quiet for a moment, the sound of a distant clock ticking softly in the background. She could feel the warmth of his presence beside her, steady and grounding. I don't know how to explain it, she said, her voice almost a whisper. But when I'm with you, it's like my heart doesn't race anymore. It's calm, like I've finally found something real. Jake turned to her, his expression serious but kind. I'm glad I can help. But Zyra, you've always been real. You just have to believe that. You've been holding yourself back for so long, thinking you couldn't feel, but you can. I see you. The words hung in the air between them, simple but profound. Zyra's eyes glistened as she looked at him. You see me? She repeated, as if testing the meaning of the words. Yes, Jake said firmly. I see you, Zyra. And I'm not going anywhere. For a moment, the space between them seemed to disappear. There was no need for words, no need for explanations. Just two people, one from another world, the other from Earth, finding comfort in each other's presence. Thank you, Zyra whispered, for showing me what it means to feel, to trust, to be seen. Jake smiled, his hand gently resting on hers. You don't have to thank me. I'm just doing what feels right. The day drifted by peacefully, the sun slowly setting as they sat together, talking about nothing and everything. It felt like they had all the time in the world. But in the back of Jake's mind, a question lingered. What did the future hold for them? Could a human and an alien really find a place in the world for each other? As the evening wore on, Jake couldn't help but wonder what the answer was. But for now, in this moment, all he wanted was to be with Zyra, to share this quiet space and the unspoken bond that had already begun to shape their future. I thought about that evening for the next few days, replaying the way Zyra had looked at me, the softness in her eyes as she spoke. Her words echoed in my mind, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change in ways I wasn't prepared for. It wasn't just the alien part of her that fascinated me anymore. It was her. She was real. She was here. And I felt like I was discovering something deeper every time we talked. The following Saturday, we decided to take a walk through the city. I wanted to show her more of the world I lived in, to help her feel more comfortable. Zyra was still adjusting to Earth, and every new experience seemed to leave her both fascinated and overwhelmed. As we walked through the crowded streets, she kept looking around, her eyes wide, taking in every sight, every sound. She was like a child, discovering a whole new world. I could see the curiosity in her eyes, but there was still something tentative about her. Like she was afraid of getting too close to this place, afraid of losing herself in it. It's beautiful, she said, her voice almost in awe. So much life. So many people. I smiled. Yeah, it can be overwhelming sometimes. But there's beauty in the chaos, too. Zyra looked at me, her gaze intense. I can see that. But sometimes I feel like I don't belong. Like I'm just passing through, not really part of it. Her words hit me harder than I expected. It was like she was echoing my own fears. I think everyone feels like that sometimes, I said softly. Like they're not quite where they're supposed to be. But maybe we just need to find our place, wherever that is. She nodded, though I could see the doubt still in her eyes. I hope you're right, Jake. I don't know if I'll ever feel like I belong here. We continued walking, and I could tell she was still processing what I'd said. I wanted to help her, to make her feel like she wasn't alone, like she could find her place here. But I knew it wasn't something I could fix for her. It was something she had to find on her own. Later that day, we sat down on a bench in the park, watching the sunset. The city was alive with sounds, but there was a peaceful quiet in that moment, just the two of us. Zyra was quieter than usual, her thoughts clearly somewhere far away. I reached out, gently touching her hand. What's on your mind? I asked softly. She looked at me, her eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't quite name. I'm just trying to understand all of this. What I feel, what you make me feel. It's so new to me. I squeezed her hand, offering her a reassuring smile. I understand. It's new to me, too. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to have all the answers right away. Maybe the important thing is that we're here. Together. Zyra's eyes softened as she looked at me, her expression filled with a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. Together, she repeated, like she was tasting the word. I like the sound of that. We sat there in silence for a while, just being with each other. I didn't know what the future held, what kind of challenges we might face, or if we could ever find a way to bridge the gap between her world and mine. But in that moment, none of that seemed to matter. We were here, now, in this moment. And that was enough. As the sun set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Maybe we were both still figuring things out, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't ready to let her go. Not now, not ever. I had never realized how much the world could change in just a few weeks. The city, the people, everything around me felt different now. It wasn't the place that had changed, it was me. I had Zyra in my life, and the connection we shared was unlike anything I had ever known. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how complicated things were becoming. It wasn't just about our feelings for each other anymore. There were other forces at play, forces that neither of us understood. Zyra was not from Earth. Her presence here was a mystery in itself, and though we had been able to share quiet moments together, something told me that her world, her past, was never far away. One evening, as we sat together on the rooftop of my apartment building, Watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Zyra seemed distant, lost in thought. I could feel the weight of her silence, and I knew that something was bothering her. "What's on your mind?" I asked gently, turning to her. She hesitated, her fingers tracing patterns in the air as if she were trying to summon the right words. "Jake," she began, her voice soft but heavy with concern. "I don't know how much longer I can stay here." I felt my heart sink at her words. "What do you mean? Why wouldn't you stay?" She turned her gaze toward the horizon, her expression a mix of sadness and uncertainty. "I've been hiding here, pretending to be something I'm not. I've been running away from my past, from my people. I can't keep doing this." My mind raced, trying to understand what she meant. "Zyra, you don't have to hide. You don't have to run anymore." She shook her head, her eyes filled with a quiet sorrow. "You don't understand, Jake. My people, they've been searching for me. They don't know where I am, and if they find me, they won't just bring me back. They'll want to control me. They'll want to use me." The weight of her words hit me like a punch in the gut. I could see the fear in her eyes, the terror that had been hidden beneath the calm exterior she had shown me. "Zyra, you don't have to go back. You can stay here, with me." She shook her head again, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not that simple. I don't belong here, Jake. I don't belong anywhere. I don't even know if I can trust anyone, even you." Her words struck deep, and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. How could I convince her to stay? How could I make her believe that she had a place here, with me? But then I realized something. I didn't need to convince her. I just needed to be there. For her. To show her that she was not alone. "Zyra," I said softly, my voice steady. "I can't tell you what's going to happen, and I don't know what your people will do. But I do know this. You are not alone anymore. And no matter what happens, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere." She looked at me then, her expression softening. It was the first time I had seen her truly vulnerable, and in that moment, I knew she needed me more than I could have imagined. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I'd do without you." I reached out, gently taking her hand in mine. It was the simplest of gestures, but in that moment, it meant everything. We didn't have all the answers, we didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had found something real, something worth fighting for. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to face whatever challenges came next. I could feel the weight of Zyra's words settling heavily between us. It was as if the invisible barrier that had always existed, even in our most intimate moments, was now growing more apparent. She had been running, hiding, for so long, and I understood, at least a part of me did, that her fear of being found, of being controlled, was something that ran deep. "You're not alone," I repeated, trying to make the words as solid and real as I could, hoping they would sink in. She looked at me then, her gaze soft but uncertain. "Jake, you don't understand. You can't protect me from everything." Her voice quivered slightly, a crack in the calm facade she had built. I saw the pain in her eyes, and it was almost too much to bear. "I don't need to protect you from everything. But I can be here," I said firmly, squeezing her hand. "You don't have to face this alone. You have me, Zyra. I'm not going anywhere." There was a long pause as we sat there, the city noises below fading into the background as I focused entirely on her. Her eyes softened as she stared at our joined hands, as if contemplating everything I had just said. "I don't know what I'd do if I stayed," she whispered, her voice so quiet I could barely hear it. Over the hum of the city. "I don't know how to live here. I don't know how to be here." I could feel her withdrawing again, as though she was afraid of letting herself hope, afraid that if she did, it would only make the inevitable hurt that much worse. "I can't tell you how it will be, Zyra," I said slowly, choosing my words carefully. "But I can promise you this. I'll be by your side every step of the way. Whatever happens, wherever this takes us." Her gaze lifted then, meeting mine, and for the first time in a while, I saw something that resembled peace in her eyes. It was fleeting, but it was there. I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. "I wish I could stay here forever," she murmured, almost to herself. "But my world, it's too far. My people, they're still looking for me." Her words made me ache for her. It was hard to imagine the pressure she must have felt, the weight of being hunted, of having her entire existence dictated by forces she couldn't control. "You don't have to go back," I said, my voice low but determined. "You can stay here. You can have a life here with me." She closed her eyes for a moment, as if trying to block out my words, or maybe the emotions they brought. When she opened them again, her gaze was clearer, though still uncertain. I want to believe that. I want to believe in you. But I don't know how long I can hide from them. I couldn't promise her that her past would never catch up with her, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to give up on her, no matter how complicated things got. You don't have to hide anymore, Zaira, I said, my voice firm with conviction. You don't have to do this alone. She studied me for a long time, and for a moment, it felt like she was looking past me, at something far beyond this rooftop, far beyond the world we stood in. But then she nodded, ever so slightly, as if agreeing with something unspoken. Maybe you're right, she said softly. Maybe I can try. A sense of relief washed over me, and I leaned in closer, offering her a smile. That's all I'm asking for. A chance to try. Zaira didn't smile, but there was a softness in her eyes that told me she was beginning to believe. It was the first step, the beginning of something that felt real. And for the first time, I allowed myself to believe, too. We didn't have all the answers. We didn't know what the future held. But in that moment, on that rooftop, as we sat together, the world felt a little less uncertain. Maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. I woke up early the next morning, the city still sleepy, with the first rays of sunlight casting a golden glow across the skyline. It felt like a new beginning, like the promise of something different, something real. Zaira had agreed to stay, and even though she hadn't said much about her plans or what was to come, there was a shift in her. I could feel it, and I hoped she could too. After our talk last night, she seemed more at ease, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Her past, her people, her entire existence, it was all a part of her, and I knew she couldn't just erase it. But for now, she had chosen to stay, and that was enough for me. As I prepared my coffee, my mind wandered back to the words she had said. Maybe I can try. It wasn't a declaration of certainty, but it was a start. And that was all we needed right now. I spent the rest of the morning working, trying to keep my mind occupied. The more I thought about what lay ahead, the more I realized that there were still so many unknowns. I had no idea what Zaira's people would do if they found her, or how we could keep her safe. I didn't have any answers, but I knew I couldn't stop trying. In the afternoon, Zaira came over. Her presence in my apartment had become a source of comfort, even though we hadn't talked much about what was next. She entered, her eyes slightly brighter than the last time I'd seen her, and she smiled. Hey, Jake, she greeted me softly, her voice light, almost playful. I thought I'd bring you something. She reached into the bag she was carrying and pulled out a small, shiny object. It was a stone, smooth and polished, with a deep blue hue. It's from my home planet, she explained, holding it out to me. It's a symbol of protection, of hope. I thought you might like it. I took the stone from her, feeling its cool surface in my hand. Thank you, Zaira, I said, touched by the gesture. I'll keep it close. She nodded, a quiet smile tugging at her lips. We sat together in the living room, talking about small things, nothing heavy. It was a break from the intensity of the previous days. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of normalcy. Zaira seemed to relax, her usual guardedness slipping away as we talked. But there was still something in the back of my mind, the weight of her past, the fear of being discovered. Do you think they're looking for you right now? I asked gently, unable to avoid the question any longer. Zaira's smile faded, her gaze shifting toward the window. She didn't answer immediately. I don't know, she said after a long pause. But I feel them sometimes. The pull, the sense that they're out there. Her voice was quiet, almost as if speaking about it made it more real. I could see the unease in her eyes, and it made my heart ache for her. You don't have to face it alone, I said softly, reaching for her hand. Whatever comes, we'll figure it out together. She looked down at our hands, her fingers curling around mine. For a moment, she seemed lost in thought, and then she looked up at me with a calmness that I hadn't seen before. I'm glad I met you, Jake, she said quietly, her voice filled with sincerity. I didn't know what I was looking for, but now I think I might have found it. My chest tightened with emotion, and I squeezed her hand. You're not alone, Zaira, I said firmly. You're here with me now, and we'll figure this out, no matter what. There was a silence that followed, a quiet, unspoken understanding between us. Neither of us knew what the future would hold, but in that moment, we had each other. And that was enough. I woke up to the sound of soft rain tapping against the window, a quiet rhythm that felt comforting in its own way. I could hear Zyra moving around the apartment, and as I rubbed my eyes and sat up, I couldn't help but think about how much my life had changed since she had come into it. Everything seemed different now, more vivid, more intense. I had come to realize that I was no longer just living for myself. I was living for both of us. I got out of bed and made my way to the kitchen, where Zyra was already sitting at the counter, sipping a cup of tea. She looked peaceful, almost serene, but I could still see the faint traces of worry behind her eyes. She had been quiet for the past few days, not talking much about her past, her people, or the fear that still lingered. But I knew it was there. "Morning," I said softly, smiling as I poured myself a cup of coffee. Zyra gave me a small smile in return, her eyes flicking up to meet mine. "Morning, Jake," she replied, her voice still soft, but with a warmth that was unmistakable. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds being the gentle pattering of rain outside and the quiet hum of the apartment. After a few minutes, Zyra set down her cup and turned toward me. "Jake," she said, her voice serious now, "I've been thinking." I looked at her, a sense of unease settling in my chest. "What about?" She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. "I can't keep running from my past. I can't keep hiding from them. My people, they'll find me eventually." I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers gripped the edge of the counter, as if she were trying to hold herself together. I got up from my seat and moved toward her, my hand resting gently on her shoulder. "You don't have to face them alone," I said softly. "I'll be with you, Zyra. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together." She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine as if she were looking for some kind of reassurance. "But what if they come for me, Jake? What if they come for us?" The fear in her voice was clear, and I could feel the weight of her words pressing down on me. "We'll deal with that when the time comes," I said, my voice firm but calm. "For now, all we can do is take things one step at a time. You're not alone. I'm here." Zyra nodded slowly, her expression softening as she took a deep breath. "I'm not used to this," she said quietly. "I've never let anyone in before. I've always kept everything locked away, out of fear. But with you, I don't know. It's like I'm starting to believe that maybe I can trust someone." My heart ached for her, but at the same time, a sense of warmth spread through me. She was letting me in, and that meant more to me than I could put into words. "You don't have to carry everything by yourself," I said gently. "I'm here to help you carry it. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Zyra's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, and she smiled. A small, vulnerable smile that spoke volumes. "Thank you, Jake," she whispered. "I don't know what I would do without you." I smiled back, my hand still resting on her shoulder. "You'll never have to find out," I said quietly. The rain outside began to let up, and as the sunlight peeked through the clouds, casting a soft glow over the room, I felt a sense of calm settle over us. The future was uncertain, and we still didn't have all the answers, but in that moment, I knew one thing for sure. We were stronger together, and that was enough. We would face whatever came next, side by side.